Rob Roberts.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, for calling me to speak on this important motion today, and I do so not only as a member for Delyn, but also as the chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Fuel Poverty and Energy Efficiency. The motion that we're debating today is one of the biggest steps that we can take towards tackling fuel poverty in our country, and I wholeheartedly, as seems to be the case throughout the House, wholeheartedly support it. Fuel poverty is one of the most pressing issues of the 21st century, so I'm proud to see that this government is committed to doing all it can to make sure every household is able to afford to properly heat their home. And while it's positive that fuel poverty rates have fallen in recent years, with in Wales around 12% of households now classed as fuel poor, there's still much more to be done. But with definitions and methodologies being different in all four constituent parts of the UK, it's impossible to compare which measures have been most successful in driving down those rates. One of the things that my APPG will be looking into is to whether we can get a UK-wide agreement on a single definition for fuel poverty, so that we can get a real understanding of the depth of the issue and the disparities between different parts of the country. But although I am pleased to see the UK government's ambitious plans to tackle fuel poverty, whether that's through financial support or improving the energy efficiency of homes, as a Welsh MP, I do find myself once again a little disappointed by the lack of action from the Labour government in Wales. The Welsh Government has proved once again to be all talk and no action, Mr Deputy Speaker, with Welsh Labour setting targets to eradicate fuel poverty in Wales by 2010, then again by 2012, and then again by 2018. Sadly, they failed to meet this target time and time again, not even coming close. And it's the most vulnerable households in Delyn and across Wales who will ultimately pay the price for those failings. But with government, in a moment, with government causing further strain, with COVID, causing further strain on household finances, I'm glad to see that the UK government goes beyond setting arbitrary targets and looks instead to provide real support and solutions to those who need it most. Schemes like the Warm Home Discount, which are available to households in Wales and throughout Britain, and are more important than ever, and is a lifeline for many over the winter months.
I thank him for giving way. I'm sure he'll accept that if you're fuel poor, the reality is you probably live in a household where you're actually poor anyway, you live in poverty, and one of the causes of poverty is the reduction in welfare and benefits, which is clearly reserved to Westminster. Does it acknowledge that's a problem? But also, does it, as his cross-party group looked at the investment in energy efficiency in Scotland, where it's 4 times per capita that of Westminster?
The honourable member for his intervention, and it kind of highlights one of the issues that I mentioned earlier on, which is the disparity in the definitions between what fuel poverty actually means in each of the 4 constituent parts. I think when I mentioned my 12% of households in Wales classed as fuel poor, whilst I didn't note it down, I believe that the percentage in Scotland was 24%. So I'm not entirely sure that trumpeting the successes of the Scottish Government would be a good thing in that case. But quite simply, Mr Deputy Speaker, with over 2.2 million low-income and vulnerable households in Britain benefiting from the scheme each year, it is the correct and the best decision to extend it for a further 12 months, by also increasing the overall spending target of the scheme to 354 million, will see even more households be able to access the support that they need. And following a proper consultation, I do also welcome the changes that the government are bringing in, which will broaden the reach of the scheme and give energy companies more flexibility, making it easier for the households to participate in the scheme. From increasing consumer protection during boiler and central heating installations and repairs, to removing the restriction on energy suppliers which prevents them from providing emergency support on top of the scheme, all these small changes will make a huge difference to those that benefit from it. And while there is room to improve the scheme, I'm enthused to hear that the government has considered the importance of the industry initiatives element when looking at the future of the scheme, but it is vital that we pass these regulations now, otherwise millions of households who are struggling due to the pandemic would be put in an even more challenging situation. But I do agree with the honourable member on the opposition front bench in seeking more long-term clarity rather than continued short-term measures. And finally, Mr Deputy Speaker, I would like to thank everyone who's put in to speak today on this important matter and welcome them all to attend our next APPG meeting towards the end of May. We will continue to work with the government and discuss ways to improve domestic energy efficiency and achieve affordable warmth for all homes, and to eventually and finally eradicate fuel poverty. Heating your home should never be a luxury, it's always a necessity. And today's motion and ones like it recognise the need amongst the most vulnerable households in our communities and ensures that they can live comfortably, secure in the knowledge that they're able to get assistance in properly heating their homes, and I do hope that the measures are supported on all sides of the House.